things that you wouldn't get otherwise. You get to see all the different parts. For example, if I was actually looking up here, and this is the way that the map is. This is an immersion pool that's over there. There's another immersion pool. All the ones with steps going across are immersion pools for different purposes. The cook, the baker, for the dining room, for the pottery workshop, this one for the wine press, and here an immersion pool for when somebody goes out and has to use the toilet. This is about the right distance for that behind those rocks over there. But they had to go outside. They couldn't really do it here. To urinate, it's okay. There's not a problem with that. But the other is something that is considered to be defiling to the site for them. I don't know if that's true about the priesthood in general. But there is a gate there, an immersion pool right inside the gate, which you can see here. Now there's a whole story to the different layers here between the earthquake, before the earthquake, after the earthquake. There's an entire terrace, agricultural terrace, that spans from the back of this wall right here, where you see that covering. That's one of the places where the people ate. You're going all the way down to the end. This wall that you see on this side is not a standing wall. That's a wall that you build for an agricultural terrace. And this was first built to be an agricultural villa with a place, an open area in the middle, and then there were also open areas that people would sit around. But when the Essenes came in, they said, well, we need more mikvaot, you need more places to dip. After all, it's pretty hot here. So it's just the way that they have to do things. And oh, wow, look at that. All of a sudden we're getting something. You can see all the way across to the Jordan this time. It was like this morning you couldn't see anything. Wow.
Where is this one?
That one is over there.
But this one?
Yeah, it's there, right there.
Where are we exactly on the map?
What's that?
Where are we?
저기서 본 거는 on the map.
Where are we on the map? We're in the tower, and that's right up in here.
Oh, okay.
And there's right here. There's a staircase going up. Now, in the Temple Scroll, they talk about a tower to the north of their Holy of Holies. This is the most sacred part, the most locked up part of the site. They kept their scrolls in there. You can see over here in this, where that picture of all those lamps. There are niches behind that for three different sets of shelves that would have held scrolls. And around it, there are benches around there inside. Low bench, yeah. Because they would sit there, and the lay people would sit over in this area, big room, just like we saw elsewhere. And then there's also a set of steps you can see coming down outside this wall, that same wall, coming up to go up on top of the roof. Now, about down to where those steps are right there, that wall was all restored for level 3. Level 3 was when there was a return after the destruction of the temple, and another group came and lived in here. So we have level 1, level 2, both the scenes, level 3, some other group. But if you take that that down, there would have been a step leading up onto the top that would then be a roof and a room over there where those writing tables fell down. And there were 3 inkwells found in that room. And there was also a lower level that showed that there were some people from the Essene movement that still lived here, that initially lived here while this place was still what they call a villa rustica, which is a place where people would have a farmstead. Now, all around here, everything has its big use, but this area here that we're looking down on is all locked up when they found locks of the doors. They found the doornails on the doors that fell, so you can tell Nazareth Village was based upon the doornails that were found in the doors on this inner building right here, because the doors fell over in place and they laid where they're supposed to. Excuse me. So there's all of this inside would have been plastered walls. Now, why do we know that? You can look behind us. You walked right past a wall inside the tower. That's the way the plaster would be. Now, it's not decorated. Here's another one right here. It's not decorated with paint. It's something that it's just white inside, but it's not a bunch of rock like this. Now, the outside walls are not plastered. And we know that because of the way that they built it all along here. But that was the earlier period. So period 1A was probably a Hasmonean winter, not palace, but something that was used for hopefully getting the dates and then harvesting crops off of that particular terrace there. It turns out that terrace, to make an agricultural terrace out there, there's too much salt in the soil below. As soon as they brought soil down from these cliffs up here where they have pretty good soil, non-saline soil, they brought it down and put it on top of this area here so they could make it into a part of the farm. And as it turns out, the salt that's underneath and the soil below was floating back up, percolating up to the top and leaving little puddles of salt out there, so that they couldn't really grow anything. So the Essenes ended up using, when they took this place over, ended up using the entire lower part for burying their pots with their bones and things that if you do pray over something, if you pray over something and you have and you use the Lord's name over it, like something that you're eating, you don't just throw it over the wall. Remember, Jesus says, don't throw what is holy to the dogs. He's thinking about these things. He knows what's going through people's minds when he's saying these things. We don't really understand it that much, but you just say, of course you don't want to throw something holy to a dog. You can don't put him a holy chalice or something like this. No, they're talking about holy victuals, and even the things that were used in the meals, these sacred meals, if they broke, they would bury them out there. Not on the other side of the wall. The lots also, the old lots were also buried in the places where these pots with bones were. One of the major places where that lady is walking right over there, there was all kinds of pots with bones actually buried over in that section. And so there's places that are both holy and pure here in the center. And when you get beyond the walls into outer courtyards, that's pure but not holy. And so that's one of the things that we're trying to show on here, that you have these walls that go around that keep this area sacrosanct. The water comes down through this area. It overflows and needs a place to go. You don't let it go off over the side into the area where there's impurities. That's water that has holy particles in it, so they have a sump that goes down into the ground so that it goes into the area that's pure, even though it's not holy. This is very much like the various aspects of this that have been found concerning the temple, what we know about the temple in Jerusalem, and also about the dining room down here. You remember where it says that they enter into that place as though they were walking into a holy precinct for their meals. You can see where they actually have aqueducts that cut right through the wall and onto the floor of the dining room so that they can wash out all the food. But you can't use unholy water on that. All these things that you can see pertaining to holiness. When you have something that that they actually had in one of these meetings, not necessarily here but somewhere else, there was a decision concerning what do you do if you have mildew on the walls of your house. Well, it's like leprosy. So then they end up bringing it up for everyone to discuss, and then they say that it's that they have to throw it outside to a place place that's unclean, like it is in the book of Leviticus. Well, here we went out and said, well, we know that in the Talmud it says that the bones of the deceased. So they ask, what do you do? Where do you, if you're going to take that and put it in an unholy, take the parts of the house out, where do you throw it? You throw it into an unholy place outside the city. How far away is an unholy place? Where you can bury bodies. So we went out 40 meters where they're supposed to be able to do this, and actually extended out to over 60 meters outside the wall. So we were a little puzzled with this, and we did that, did all the research and did all the measurements to study that. It turns out that instead of in the Babylonian Talmud that says 40 cubits, this one says 60 plus cubits.
Cubits of water?
Cubits from the wall to where the dead bodies are. And that's where you're supposed to be able to, of course, put other unclean things as well.
So they're even more holy than the Babylonian Talmud.
But this matches the Jerusalem Talmud instead of the Babylonian Talmud. And this is really an important thing, because people keep saying, well, there's no way of testing all the Mishnaic holiness stuff out. They have all this extra stuff. How do we know that they were really observing that? Well, this is where you can really know that, is because there were priests living here in the most holy way possible. So, so why don't we head down? Are any of you interested to go see Cave 6? That's up at the end of that, so you can look down. It's at that last finger sticking out. You can look right down on top of it. It's where the lake cave is.
The one, the cave that we can see from the...
No, you can't see it. You got to look down because it's down below.
So what about the caves that you have there? It's not a cave.
No, these are caves here, but we will. Let's save that for last if we have a chance. I think people are realizing that.